Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empower Hour. This is our weekly broadcast we do every Sunday morning, and we cover topics that ex Jehovah Witnesses tend to struggle with, just to give you a helping hand on your journey to heal and move forward in life. And today we're going to be talking about something that is probably the most painful thing about leaving the organization and the most painful thing to deal with, which is shunning. Today we're talking about dealing with shunning. It's a tough one. That's the thing that hits the heart of everyone the most, right? Losing your community, losing your family, and losing everything you've known and just being shunned. People treating you like you're dead or like you don't exist. It's not very fun. Well, we've got to learn how to deal with it because it's not something that we can change at the moment with certain people in our lives. So let's get into this. How do you deal with shunning? Well, first off, you have to understand that there is a period of mourning. In a lot of ways, it's like a death. It's a death of what you've known. It's the death of certain relationships, at least temporarily. You got to allow yourself time to mourn. When you pretend like it never mattered, when you pretend like it doesn't hurt, sometimes we can just keep busy. Some people might abuse alcohol or drugs or find some kind of escapism to not feel the pain, and that doesn't help you either. We have to mourn the life that we knew. Some do this better than others. So, knowing that we must mourn, but we can't stay there forever. Like anything, like a death, it hurts unbelievably when it first happens. And you can't just rush the process. You could lose someone in your life and it can feel like you just can't go on, but we all know that's not true. We all know that it's something that we all will face, and we all know that in time we adjust to a new reality. And it's the same with shunning. We will have to adjust to a new reality, but there is a mourning period that comes with it. But while you're in that mourning, know that it will get better. It will get easier. You are capable of creating a new reality. And after you get over that period of mourning, you go into a space of acceptance. I've said this many times. Life is not fair by any means. Some things in life really suck. It's not fair. But you have to accept what you're working with. You have to accept the cards that you have in your hand, the cards that you can play. You have to come to a place of acceptance. When someone gets a physical disability, you go through a time period of mourning, but then you have to accept life from this place. You must find happiness in this place. Acceptance is massive. Just seeing that this is how it is right now, and I'm going to deal with it. And I'm going to deal with it through my growth. Now, that's the third thing I want to talk about is your growth. Mourning, acceptance, and growth. Focus on your growth. Focus on what you get to learn because you're not a Jehovah's Witness. Focus on how you get to expand as a human being because you're no longer a Jehovah Witness. And as you expand, remember this: as you expand and become a bigger person, lose everything that has to do with that religion. And that includes losing any label that they wanted to give you when you exited. Remember, when you're done, you're done. It's not about trying to appease their world with their labels and their rules. When you decide you're done, and you can do it your way, whatever way makes you feel completion. I didn't need any label. I never got this fellowship. I didn't write any letter. When I was done, I was done. I don't play by your rules, I play by mine. This little fantasy little world does not apply to me. When people ask me, sometimes I'll go back where I'm from, and people will ask me, "Hey, Rodney," they're nervous to talk to me. Are you disfellowship? I won't even answer the question. I'm not, but I won't answer the question because your world is not my world. I don't play by those rules. Their labels, it's like your high school counselor telling you that you're still in detention 30 years after high school, 40 years after high school. Ridiculous. I'm not in your school, lady. That was a long time ago. I play by my rules, and my rules say when I'm done with something, I'm done. I'm done. This is my world now. I, I paint it how I wish. So lose the label. So even if you were given a label and you were disfellowshipped or you were what carrying that label will tie you to the religion. So even if they gave you that label already, lose it. You're not disfellowship. You're disfellowship to them. They can think that. They can call you that. You're just you. You don't play by their rules. It means nothing. If you're disfellowship, talk to who you want. Make them run away. Don't put your head down and go down the other aisle of the grocery store and act like you're ashamed of yourself. No, you stand up, you stand tall, and you say hello to whoever you want to say hello to. I play by my rules, and my rules say I acknowledge people I know. I love on people I know. I don't play by your rules. If you want to run away, you run away, not me. Somebody's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be me. It's going to be you. I don't play by your rules. So lose whatever label. You're just you. Applying labels to yourself will not help you. A prisoner that goes around saying, I'm an ex convict, I'm an ex convict, I'm an ex convict, that doesn't help him. Not that he's got to hide from his past, but you don't keep that as part of your identity. You move on and you become the new you. Another key to deal with shunning is really learning to love yourself. You have to really invalidate the opinions and the thoughts and the beliefs of the people who are still in the organization, the things that they think about you. You automatically get every negative label. It's you. You destroyed the family. You did this. You. You're the bad one. No, 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 no. Invalidate everything from their world because their world is not a world of clarity, it's a world of programming. Learn to love yourself. Learn to see who you are. Learn to value yourself. You will never have value in that world. So quit trying to find it. Quit trying to get mom and dad to see you or your siblings to see you or your loved ones that you still might be connected with to see you because they won't. You have to learn to love yourself. That's an inside job. Do not see yourself as a disappointment, yet understand that in standing for yourself, you will always disappoint people. We'll say that again. Never see yourself as a disappointment, but know that if you stand up for yourself, you will disappoint people. That's what courage is. Courage allows you to stand for yourself in the face of an opposition. That's courage. You will disappoint people if you stand up for yourself. The only way to please everybody is to be an inauthentic person, to be a chameleon. And a lot of us were chameleons when we were witnesses. So learn to love yourself and be okay with disappointing other people. How people take what you do is not your business. They should be focused on their own lives, not yours. They should be focused on they themselves becoming bigger and better people, not you. My life should not disappoint you. What I choose to do with my life to make myself a bigger and better person should not be all that much a concern to someone else, as if I did something to them. We're grown men and women here. Don't look for their validation because you'll never get it, ever, because they only care about things that exist in their small little world. This is the big world. We all are trying to live here. They live here. All of this doesn't make sense. So don't try to make it make sense to them. They won't get it. Learn to love yourself. Look in the mirror. Love that person. Love that that person is growing, expanding, That person is okay to question things. That person is okay to change their mind on things that they learn uh, proof isn't true. That's an awesome person. That's a courageous person. A person doesn't feel bound to hold on to something that doesn't feel right, something that doesn't make any sense. That's a brave person. That's an awesome person. But in this little world of the witnesses, no, that's an apostate. That's this. That's that. They're always trying to put a label on it. Learn to love yourself. Also, learn to depersonalize the shunning. Depersonalize it because it's not really them. Most of us have exactly the same story, a very similar story, and we don't even know each other for the most part. But the people who come out of the religion have the same story, which means that the people in the religion are programmed. They're programmed to do the same things, to think the same things, to follow the words of their leaders. Witnesses follow men. One day you can't have beards, next day everybody's sporting a beard because some men said so. They follow men. Depersonalize the way they're treating you because it's not really them, it's their programming, and they're following cult leaders, and it's not really personal. It's hard to depersonalize it because what they do hurts so much. And you try to make sense and say, how could a mother, abandon her daughter? How could, these things happen? They're so wrong. Yeah, they're so wrong because they're in a cult. They're so wrong because they're not thinking for themselves. The human mind can be hijacked. Look at what Hitler did. Look at what Hitler did. He hijacked the minds of millions of people, and very sick things became okay to these people. It's the human mind, it's the hijacked mind. And our loved ones have a hijacked mind. So try to depersonalize it. And in depersonalizing their actions, we all become the embodiment of unconditional love. You see, lead with love. When you can understand how they've been programmed, because many of us were once programmed, we should understand it. We should become the embodiment of what they cannot be, unconditional love. In spite of the way they treat us, love them anyway. In spite of the way they treat us, find opportunities to send what I call one way love, no expectations back. Sometimes you could write a card to just catch them up on your life. If that, some of us don't have relationships that will work at all. We have to know, and this doesn't work for some people, but for most of us, we have people that we could send a card to. We could send pictures of the kids. We could catch them up on our daily life. We could send them a gift certificate to a restaurant. We could be kind to them. But we do this with no expectation. Because if you have expectation, you'll be disappointed. But one way love, just how people react is not indicative of what they think many times. Someone may not respond back because they're conflicted. They don't know what to do with that. It's not in their Jehovah Witness script book. So they get really uncomfortable. They might get mad at you sending them things. It's not because they're mad at you, really. It's because you're giving them conflict and they can't stand the conflict. Send that one way love. Trust me, love works. Love truly works. If you're trying to replace some of the people in your life that you lost through shunning, go out of your way to reconnect with family that aren't JW. Most JWs are not real close to their relatives that aren't JWs because of the religion. Go out of your way to reconnect with people and let them know that, man, I'm looking for this. I need your love. I need some family. Most of them have a lot of compassion for you because they've been thinking that religion was crazy for years, right? And maybe during Thanksgiving or some of the family gatherings, you got a place to go. And you'll find you connect with family like that. So reach out to these people and let them know. Listen, I just need family in my life, and apologize for being distant all these years, but this is the way I was raised, or this is the way I was taught to be, and I no longer, buy into that religion. You'll find that most times they will embrace you and feel so happy that you got out of that. If you want this thing of shunning to hurt less, find a sense of purpose in your life. Don't just have the void and the emptiness of what you lost. Find a sense of purpose so you are now living a purpose driven life, so that leaving the religion wasn't just leaving it for nothing. You left it so you could be a fuller, better version of you, so that you could leave a more purposeful life. And when you grow and you grow into another person, basically, and you get really involved in things that are important to you, you will miss what you left behind less, because your life is now being filled with something that gives you a sense of purpose. It's when we leave the religion and we have no sense of purpose that it's hard. When there's just a void, when nothing replaced it. Find a sense of purpose. Find a place in life where you matter. And I promise you, this will be one of the biggest helps, one of the biggest things that will help you in your process to move forward. Because now you wake up and I'm doing this, I'm going there, I'm adding value there, and I couldn't have done this with all these people in my life. And for me, the shunning doesn't bother me all that much, for the most part. A few people it does. Um, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me because I could have never been this person if I was there. So I realized that that's a sacrifice. I let that go, but I got this to replace that. And I'm not the same person. A person I am today doesn't even relate to that. So the person I am today would never be around those people anyway. So remember to start living a purpose driven life. Separate who you were from who you are. Make a distinction. I like to say that this version of me was never a witness. Mm-mm. This version of me was never a witness. So this version of me doesn't miss the things of a past life, for the most part. I get shunned. The hard part for me, I get shunned by my son. I haven't talked to my son in almost 3 years. That does hurt, because that does hurt. But I can't dwell on that. I have to keep moving forward. I can't dwell on it. There comes a time in life where you have to accept reality. You have to accept the things you don't like. But having a purpose driven life helps me. If I was just sitting here um, mourning the loss of things I can't control, my life would not be very fulfilling at all. But I can handle those things because I do live a purpose driven life. And I think it's something all of you should experience. Separate who you were from who you are. Draw a line. Draw a line and start creating a new life here, a purpose driven life. Don't play their games. We talked about this earlier. Don't play their games. Play yours. Don't play their games at all. Again, when you draw the line, the game is played a different way on this side than it was on this side. When you draw the line, you cut the tie. This version of me never was a Jehovah's Witness. I play the game on my terms. And then look at life long term. I don't I don't live life with the viewpoint of the movie being done. I'm still in the middle of the movie. And in the middle of any movie, usually the main character is going through some stuff. A good movie has ups and downs and it pulls your heartstrings, and it's tough. I'm not at the end of the movie. So when I think about things like some of the people that shun me, I don't know what it looks like 10 years from now, 5 years from now. Maybe some of the things that are so painful today might be the biggest success story in time. Maybe people I thought would never wake up, and we get to share our story to people all over the world. Maybe that's what's happening right now. Who knows? So I just live life not thinking that this is the end of the movie. if we act like this is the end of the movie, then we will project and create the misery that we don't want. We'll be creating exactly what we don't want in life. But if we live life just knowing that we're in the middle of the movie and we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know if that whole religion will just go down the toilet soon. It may. And then what'll happen? You'll be the ones helping the people to move forward. So um, I'm just in this movie. That's how I look at life. I'm in this movie, and it's not always pleasurable. A good movie has ups and downs and pulls your heartstrings and makes you laugh and makes you cry. Good movies all over the place, and that's our life. So change your perspective on that, and that will help. So let's bring our panel up: Christine, Judy, and Gary today. All right, who would like to begin with some comments to the subject matter today? Judy.
I just really liked how you said that, that someone's going to be uncomfortable, and it's not going to be me anymore. So just human manners are when you see someone you acknowledge them. And so there was a time, that I am like you, am not official according to their terms, just faded out. But you still get the what I call it soft shunning, where it depends how that person's feeling that day, whether they're going to talk to you or not. So maybe you're at the grocery store, and there would be a time before that I would purposely like go to another aisle or put your head down or whatever, and then through your coaching and coming into a realization of who I am, that I'm like, I've done nothing wrong. I'm proud of my life now, and I know you. I'm going to say hello. If you choose not to say hello back, that's on you, not me. It's not going to change who I am. So that attitude, I think, is one of, again, knowing yourself, loving yourself, knowing that you're a good person. And just basic manners is to acknowledge somebody that you know. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go out to dinner with you that night, but certainly I'm going to have the decency to at least say hello to you. And and acknowledging that there are times that, yeah, shunning does hurt. I'm in the same situation as you are with your son, with my daughter. I'm not going to say that that doesn't hurt, but I'm also not going to spend my days dwelling on it and getting sad over something that I can't control. And just do the best that I can and hope that someday that they'll be able to look back at that and say, my mom was a decent person and handled that the right way.
Yeah, and again, we can't tell what's going to happen in the future. And when we thrive in life and we hold our heads up, we are betraying what they said would be. And you don't know when the chair gets pulled from under them. You don't know when they have a big argument with an elder, or they don't agree with some new light, or something discourages them. They will be drawn toward the light, and you need to be the light. But if you are broken and angry and haven't really moved very much in life, they won't look at you with any real regard. They won't want to be like you because you might still just be in a state of being angry or hurt years later. And they may feel that they're in a better place where they're at. You got to give them an example. You got to become the lighthouse that they could see. When they're lost at sea, you remain the lighthouse. And that's how I look at it with my kids. And um, not just my kids, but with a lot of people. There are people in this group that partly woke up because they followed me on Facebook and messaged me and was curious about my life. And one person in particular, I dropped a few seeds, and I think I might have dropped too many. I freaked him out for a little bit. But about a year and a half later, maybe 2 years later, he woke up and go, Rod, you were right about everything. And basically, it's just he was curious because I don't look like someone who is hurting in life and life's falling apart and angry. I'm not angry. I try to contribute what I can to the world, and all of us can choose to do that. Next, Gary.
Yeah, well, just for background, my situation is that I am officially shunned. Okay, so because I went to that point, and so that means that my kids don't talk to me because they're in. And another thing I just like to point out is that I had no problems adjusting to real life out after the JWs. Not saying I always did it right. I didn't have some difficult days, but the only thing that really continues to bother me is the fact that I can't talk to my kids. Otherwise, why do I care about the fact that they can now wear beards and stuff? It doesn't mean anything to it. But you talked before about don't take it personally, and that's why I wanted to give that little bit of background because it's for me it's become easy to not take it personally because of a communication I got from my daughter a couple of years ago. I found out I was a grandfather through the grapevine, and I went to the store to buy a care package, a whole box full of clothing for 1 month to 12 months, and I sent it to her, the address I knew of, and I got a nice little note back, nothing alarming, but just thanks a lot, whatever, no, I love you or anything, but just a nice enough message thanking me for the package. So then a little bit later, maybe a month or so later, I got the idea to bring my parents, who are not witnesses either, to where she lives because they can't drive anywhere. They can't take trips anymore at their age. And I told my daughter this is what I was thinking of doing. I texted this to her. This is what I was thinking of doing because Grandma and Grandpa would love to see your baby. And I said I'll stay in a hotel, so don't worry about that. But just wanted you to know that that's the plan. I hope that's okay. Well, she sent me a message back that my initial reaction is it was disturbing. I just couldn't believe it. It's like basically said, let's keep further future communications to just what's necessary, and like what does that mean? That means like somebody's dead, I guess, because what how do you define necessary? So anyway, when I received that message, I was with someone who happens to be a counselor, a therapist, and she looked at it and she pointed out something to me that I kind of noticed, but I did not put it into the words that this person said. She said, your communications to her are human. They have emotion. How are you? Happy to see you. You have a baby. All that stuff. Emotional content. Her communication with me was completely dehumanized. Had no emotional content, whatever. And I looked at it again. I thought, it doesn't even sound like a sentence that she would put together. She would never speak that way to anybody, regardless of the situation. It's just not the way she talks ever. So I realized she got that from an elder or somebody like that. She got it like dictated to her. This is what you tell him. I don't want to say her name, but and so it really was not her talking. So how can I take that personally? I think it's sad that she's that far gone that she can't even think of how to communicate with her own father without getting somebody's approval. So, but there's nothing I can do about that. That's something that's going to be there as long as she's not waking up, as long as she's still a JW. So it's sort of easy to not take it personally when you think of it that way. And like with the changes of I don't know a couple of months ago, where now my grandmother's talking to me, but then you kind of realize over time that actually she's not talking to me. It's just that she invited me to the meeting. And when I was at the meeting, my sister said, "Oh, it's so nice to see you here. I hope you come back." And then that was it. It's more programming. It's just programming. It's just robotic nonsense. And I don't take robots personally. Like I don't like if I say Siri, play me an Eric Clapton song, and she plays the wrong song, I don't take it seriously because Siri's a robot. So it's sort of easy to not take it personally when you think about the fact that they're just robots saying something that they were told to say.
Yeah, they're definitely disconnected from self, and there's nothing genuine about that communication. And you'll notice most witnesses or no most witnesses, um, they prefer to text, right? Because it's impersonal. They don't want to talk to you. If you talk the human emotion, you start poking at the heart, right? They like it real impersonal like that. So great share. Okay, we got a couple more. Jack just came on, but let's go back to Judy.
Well, just when Gary said about it's robotic, and it also helps to realize that I was once that same robot.
Mhm.
I once was I would have done the same thing, and I did do the same thing. I'm not happy that I did. Now I realize people that I hurt the way that I'm being hurt by it. So having the mindset that, yeah, that's the way I used to be, and you know, people were stunned when I left. It was like shocking, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Judy has like left the organization. Like, what is going on? So knowing that that's not the end of their story, like you talked about, who knows what the end of the movie is. I once felt the way that they did. So although I don't agree with it now, although it is still hurtful, I'm not going to dwell on it. I understand it because we were all once there. We were all, they would say jump, we'd say how high.
Right. That's a great share because a lot of times people can tend to lose any understanding of it all when you once did it yourself, and how could you? Yeah, we all did it. So let's not pretend like we don't understand what that kind of programming is like. We all lived a life where we weren't thinking for ourselves and we just followed. So we woke up. Who knows who will wake up? Like you said, people were shocked when you woke up. So you never know. Okay, we got Jack who's just chilling somewhere beautiful in the world.
Oh, that's so
Hey,
untrue.
sorry, sorry. I'm in a beautiful place called Portugal. With
Nice.
awesome cliffs, beautiful beach. With my lady here. Hi, Zanka. Say hi.
Hey.
So we're enjoying our time. But I just bumped in for a moment. I want to share something with you. So we're visiting family. Some of the family here that we haven't seen in a long time. They're GWs, and they don't know we left. So I was very curious how things will play out. And we visited one family yesterday, and it was fine. We didn't really talk about religion, and everything was fine. We just talked about family stuff, and everything was fine. But the second family we most likely will visit, I don't know yet. We'll see how things play out. They're very religious. They're as religious as it gets. Last time we saw them, you know, like even the way they talk, they would say things like, "Oh, hi." They would say, "Hi, how are you?" And they say, "Oh, thanks to Jehovah, we're doing well." And all what they talk about is what was the last convention, what was the last assembly, what was in the last Watchtower. That's all their life. Like they have nothing else. And when I thought about it yesterday, I thought about this. They studying all the time. Like they prepare for all the meetings, they read all the books, they watch all the broadcasts. They're thinking they're getting smarter. But we very well know that somebody can be disqualified for a year, 10 years, 20 years. They come back and they'll catch up with all the JWs within weeks because they're not any smarter. The way things were 20 years ago is pretty much the same right now with minor changes. So these people, they study so much, they read so much, they sacrifice so much time to educate themselves, but they're not getting any smarter. If you actually talk to them, you'll see that they're very young in their mind. And if we just take that time, half of that time, to educate ourselves, to read some books, to spend time with people who are smart, to attend some seminars, to attend some courses, man, the growth is gigantic. But with witnesses, they will spend enormous amount of time on studying, reading, preparation, and they're thinking they're getting smarter. They're thinking they're like, oh yeah, we learned so much at the assembly. What did you learn? Like, what new did you learn? There was no new life. You didn't learn anything new. So it was actually interesting to see how years can go by, decades sometimes, and these grown-up people they're still in the same spot.
Mhm.
They have not moved one inch mentally, emotionally. They are still the same, and there's zero progress. If anything, I think there's a regress because you would expect a little bit of the world is progressive, and they're not. So you can actually see it's going down.
I love
That's,
that. Yeah, I
yeah.
love that share because one of the things I came to understand when I left the witnesses is how ignorant I was about so many things. Like I thought I knew a lot and I knew nothing. And when I look at the person I am today, as opposed to, when I left, it's completely different because I just know so much more. I've learned so much in the last, 20 years. It's amazing. It makes me not want to even discuss anything with witnesses because where I'm coming from is so it's not in the same universe that they play. So it's like, why would it's like arguing with a second grade student. Makes no sense. You won't understand what I'm saying, so you're going to put some label on it so you can just not even consider it. Witnesses are truly stunted. When my mom passed away and we had a Zoom memorial because it was 2020, and I was just looking at all these faces of people I knew years ago, 20, 30 years, I haven't seen some of them. And they were exactly the same. I was listening to the conversation, and they're exactly the same people that I remember from the 80s. They just were old. And I'm like, they don't grow at all. So when you allow yourself to grow, then you will resonate less with any of that world. And the more easier it is to let it go. Because I think many of us carry a fantasy that if the shunning went away, everything would be cool and we could hang out with our family. And no, if you allow yourself to grow, you'll probably find that we probably still wouldn't hang out. We might have a picnic every now and then, but we would not be like it was when we were witnesses because you have very little in common. They're only looking for that religious commonality. And if you're not a part of it, it's not going to be what you remember. Okay. Anyone else? Christine, did you have a share?
Yeah, hi. I want to be wherever Jack is. Are you at the beach?
Oh, yeah. It's one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. This place right there, okay, that is a place where they have the biggest waves in the world. You go on YouTube and you place and you put a name called Nazaré in Portugal, you will see waves out of this world. If people surfing here, it's like a suicide. It's impossible. Like when you see some of the waves, you're like, what? People surf on this? Crazy. Absolutely gorgeous place. Absolutely gorgeous.
That's awesome. Um, Thank you for sharing that. I was like, skies look very different here. We're both from Toronto area, and I'm like, doesn't look the same here. Yeah, about shunning, so a little background for myself is that I came in as a child, third born in, and thankfully I was able to leave at 13. I asked my mom if I didn't have to go back, and it was really grandma that wanted me to be in. And so it's just very interesting watching the family. I've blocked a lot of childhood memories, so I don't really know if I was shunned per se. When I had an aunt and an uncle and their two families in the organization, and my grandma. They still will talk to us, but there's always this feeling of, the elephant in the room, or just that feeling of we're not like them, or we're not as good as them because we're not in the truth. And one thing that I think was, you know, really the not what broke the camel's back, but I had my uncle's daughter was getting married, so my cousin, and we weren't invited. We were the cousins that weren't invited because we weren't in the organization, but the other cousins were able to go. And I'm like, this is such bull crap. Like, she's my cousin, all those things. So, anyways, it was just at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to find the validation from them. And it doesn't really matter. Like, even if we did go to the wedding, would we really be able to talk and be around the people? No, I don't think we would feel comfortable. And what was really fascinating was an old boss of mine was the caterer for the wedding. And so I was chatting with him, and he was telling me that it was the weirdest wedding. that he had ever catered. And he was like, it was just awkward. And I was like, yeah, that's the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was just glad that that I'm able to now be at a place where the anger's gone, even if we're not invited to, whatever event that they're having. uh, I'm okay with it. You know what? Because truly, and you had said this earlier, Rodney, was, would you really want to hang out with them, in other places? And it's like, I love them as family. And sure, when we're connected, to be cordial and stuff, but there isn't that depth that I really like to have in conversation or with people that I am choosing to spend time with, because we are on totally two different levels of understanding, of growth, of, all the things. So I feel, anyone who's listening and you're in that situation, it is difficult. Definitely process the emotions, go through the stages of grief. Rodney really helped me with the boot camp through the anger, the intense rage I had. I feel in the organization separating our family. But now it's like, I have so much more freedom now because I don't have that ruminating in my thought process, or, just sitting inside. It's just like, you do you, and I hope all the best for them. But so fascinating, I have a health spa here, and some of them won't even come to here, and I can help them, with some of the healing things that they're going through. It's just so fascinating. So again, it's just another layer of like, okay, you find the avenues that feel good for you, but here's someone as a family member who would, definitely do stuff for them. They're not even interested in coming in. So fascinating. That is what it is.
Yeah, witnesses are not they're not your fans, right? And when I say that, I mean that they're not really cheering for you to win, and they're not consciously cheering for you to lose either. But what they're taught is that the shunning should be painful, and painful enough to make you want to return. If you're winning in life, it's not painful. So they're not fans of yours. They're not fans of you winning, because if you're winning, you are kind of betraying what's supposed to happen when you leave Jehovah, right? You're supposed to have this difficult life and things aren't supposed to go your way. But if things are really going your way, they don't want to talk about that either, right? So I find that, in my family, when we are in the same room every blue moon, I'm the one that no one asks questions of, yet it's my life that changed the most. It's my life that's probably a lot more fascinating with what I've gotten to do with my life. And I'm not the one asked any questions. No one really cares. Right. So you really have to not look for validation from those people, because you're not going to get it. Because celebrating you means it's working out for you. And they kind of are programmed to subconsciously want you to struggle, so you come back and you get the love and the affection, and where your priorities are in alignment with theirs, and now we can embrace you and ask you a bunch of questions, right? If you accomplish something really amazing, I could get the Nobel Peace Prize, and that would mean less than if I came back, started going out in service, and turn in an auxiliary pioneer slip. That would mean more to them. I would get more praise for that than if I got the Nobel Peace Prize. They would act like it didn't even happen because you're winning. So go win. Okay. Next, Gary.
Yeah, what Christine said about the process of grief, or that it's a grief process. I don't know if that's the exact word you use, but that is so important to remember and recognize, because it is a process. Whether we've lost a limb, our health, a person in death, whatever it is. Now we lost our standing with an organization. We lost a relationship with our parents or whoever. It's a loss, and there's grief associated with that. And there's no part of that process that's wrong. Sometimes we're going to be angry, sometimes we're going to be sad, then we'll be angry again the next day, then we'll be sad for 3 days, and it's something that we go through. But can you imagine being angry about your mom's death, let's say, like 10 years from now? I don't think anybody's gonna, you're still gonna miss her maybe, but so anger, I often see people deliberately use anger as a coping strategy, like like you can't fire me, I quit kind of thing. Um, you're not shunning me, I'm shunning you. I don't want to talk to you either. The hell with you. 10, 20 years from now, if my mom tries to talk to me again, I'm never going to talk to her again. How could she shun me for 10 years? So it's a constant state of anger that it actually doesn't move us forward at all. You can't make progress in an angry state of mind. It's something you have to do when you're calm and thinking coolly. So it's okay if you're angry at first because I'm being shunned by a family member. That's natural. Maybe you're going to be sad tomorrow. Maybe you'll be angry again the next day. But to use that as a coping strategy, as a deliberate method of coping with it, and being marinating in that anger, like a year from now, 2 years, 5, 10 years from now, it's just not really helpful. And you said it before, Rodney. I just want to repeat it, that you have to approach all of this stuff with love. Any issue you can imagine that has to do with our making progress after leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses has to be from a state of love. And you can't be, how do you express love while you're angry?
When you lead with love, all of their stuff doesn't work. It just doesn't stick. Like witnesses don't know what to do if you don't play your role in their script. They get thrown off. They don't know what to do. Right? There are people that have talked to me that are when I tell them this, here's a typical conversation. This happened before. Hey, Rodney, good to see you, buddy. Hey, yeah, you ever think about coming back to the meetings? The end is getting near, and all the signs are. No, me and you are an absolutely different belief systems as far as that part of life. But we don't need to talk about that. Anyway, how's the wife and kids? I just hijacked the conversation. I tell them straight up, I don't believe what you believe, but I know you. I'm not going to ignore you. How's the wife and kid? They don't know what to do. I didn't do that him, huh? Yeah, well, yeah. And that's what most people do is they act like they kind of play along as if I might come back to the meetings. Yeah, I see what's, and they play the role. I don't play the role. No, we don't believe the same thing. But anyway, how are you? How's the wife and kids? And they look mortified and they shrink. And I give them a big bear hug. Hey man, good to see you. You take care, brother. They walk away like, what just happened? Because I don't play your game, right? And the next time, there are people I've seen a couple of times, and they avoid me like the plague. It looks like they're disfellowshipped because I don't play the game, and he doesn't want to approach me because it doesn't work. I know you. I acknowledge you. Send your wife and your kids my love. Tell them I said hello. Which will never happen, but I say it anyway. Christine?
I love that. In a way, it's like you got to make it boring, so that it doesn't like pull you down. But it's just, yeah, so good to have a phrase. And this is for anyone that, if there is something that would make you uncomfortable, or you're nervous. We're all learning emotional maturity skills. None of us grew up, we didn't learn it anywhere. Not blaming anyone. It's our responsibility to learn. And so we're going to mess it up for sure. But, on the times where we're in a situation, or, when you were saying, oh, I don't believe what you believe, but hey, how are your kids? That is something that's really good to have in your, your back pocket or your mind for when the situation comes up. Because if you're at a store or a bakery and you happen to run into someone and you weren't even expecting it, you're going to be caught off guard and you'll go back into old survival patterns. So I think it's so good that that's a good example of a phrase that someone can use in the event that they run into someone in the grocery store or wherever, to not try to, figure out how to say it in a nice way to not offend them or whatever. Like point blank, I don't believe what you believe. I love that.
And the
Good.
key is that I've grown so much since I was in that religion. So, like I said, this version of me never was a witness. So I don't even look at myself as an ex-witness. I don't use that term on myself. I'm just me.
Mm.
I grew. I'm way beyond that. And I look at a witness the same as I look at somebody I knew from high school. Okay, we went to the same high school, but we're not 17 anymore, right? So, but I say, hello, how are you? I realize you don't know me. You don't know this version of me. You don't know my kids. You don't know my life. I don't know how many kids you got. I don't know your wife. I really don't know this version of you. We know each other from high school. And I look at the witnesses the same way. This version of me has never been a Jehovah Witness. So when you're talking to me, it's just nonsense. Let's not even go there. Nonsense. We don't believe the same thing. This version of me doesn't believe what you believe. Let's not even go there. Anyway, how's kids? I don't know what to do. Chuck.
Uh, you see the cliff behind me?
Yeah.
There's a legend over here. There were hunters chasing a deer, and the deer jumped off this cliff and died. And the hunters almost died, but right before they jump off this cliff, apparently, Mother of Jesus showed up in the sky, and the horse saw it, and then walked backwards on his 2 feet, saving the hunters from death. Now, of course, we take it as a legend, but the people here really believe this, and they created a little church over there. And people travel from all over Portugal and Europe, and they come here and they pray. There is Fatima, not too far. When those of you who know the story, there were 3 kids who had a revelation from Jesus's mother Mary, and people claim that they saw her in the clouds. They have a church over there, and you'll see thousands of people coming, and they'll walk on their knees for really long stretches. Old people, 80 years old, walk on their knees to get to the altar. This is where the bullet from Pope is also. Very religious people all over the place. But even though they're very religious, you could still have a normal conversation with them, even though we don't agree with their beliefs, even though we might think, hey, whatever you guys think, whatever you believe, is kind of weird to me. For me, those are legends. It's surprising that you believe it because it's kind of odd, but it's okay. We can still have a normal friendship. We can still have normal family time. We can still have a normal conversation, no problem. Jehovah's Witnesses is not the same. Their mind is so controlled that, especially now, where they're saying to what extent you are allowed to talk to people. Okay, if somebody was disfellowshipped and they come back to the congregation, you can say hi to them before you couldn't say hi to them. The level of control in that religion is so high that these people need a label on you to even know whether they can communicate with you or not. You won't find it anywhere else except really high controlling cults. So for those people who hope that, oh, you know what, maybe if I leave super slowly, the witnesses somehow will remain my friends and so on. Oof, it has to be a very special witness who doesn't really care much about the religion to stay friends with you. I always tell people, you know what, you just focus on building your life the way you want to. If they choose to stay with you, great. Chances are they won't. Don't count on it, otherwise you're just gonna get disappointed. But treat them as people of different religion. That's all they are. Just treat them normally. If they choose to treat you differently, it's their choice. But for you, they're just like Catholics, Muslims, or Jews. They just have people of different faiths, different beliefs. They're not sharing your beliefs. Don't talk about it because it will create conflict. But if they choose not to associate with you, it's their choice, not yours. And that's it. And then move on.
Right, right. Great advice. Keep your expectations low.
That
Right.
helped.
And that's great advice for life in general, right? Um, Disappointment is merely unfulfilled expectation. And how many people, especially in the group, when you read the post, how many times do you see someone expecting something that is an unreasonable expectation of a Jehovah's Witness, right? I can't believe this happened. I can't believe my mom said that. Well, you've seen 1,000 posts like this. This is not unusual. This is what happens. It's just that sometimes we hold an expectation that's not going to be held up by people who are programmed with that thought. And that's what Jack was talking about, is the programming. It's just all this programming. And sometimes you have to keep your expectations low, because even when someone is dealing with you on a certain level, there could be one talk at a district assembly, at one shift of perspective that just cuts it off, and that person that was talking to you just decides to back off from you and limit communication. Or, what, I've been feeling bad, I've been betraying Jehovah by having this relationship with you, or all that nonsense. So keep your expectations low with those people, and always remember how you were programmed when you were in it. Learn to just create a life beyond it. Don't let your life be shaped and viewed through the lens of a witness. Move beyond the ex witness label. Become someone bigger than it. You don't want to still be tied to the religion and living life like you're exiled from something. You want that religion to stay small, and you keep growing and getting bigger and getting bigger. And that's why I can respond to people the way I do, because they're small to me. I don't care if you were my district overseer or circuit overseer when I was a witness. It means absolutely nothing to me today. Okay. Somebody else had their hand up. Judy?
Just when we talked about coming from a place of love and unconditional love, and the void that happened to all of us when we left, that love has to start with ourselves, and the unconditional love of ourselves, and finding good things to fill that void. I think of, like, growing up as a witness, maybe you had natural talents, you had natural desires, things that you wanted to learn, that you wanted to do, that you never had the time for, because all your free time was spent for the organization. And now we have that time. So whatever time we have left, pursue that, fill that void with good things, find that purpose, grow yourself. And then yes, it still stings, but it won't sting near as much.
What I want to add to that is making sure you honor that time of your life. You don't have to hate it. I don't hate the time I was a witness. I had good times. I had a lot of good times. It's just over there. It's not where I am today, right? So I just grew out of it. It's like you move away from a state, or you move to a different country. If you move away, you're gone. Your friends that are there are still there, and you're building a new life here, and you can still honor the memories, just knowing that life has just changed lanes for you in a different place today. And that way, by allowing yourself to honor it, yet let it go at the same time, letting it go in your present, it won't sting as much if you can do that. Gary, you had a thought?
Yeah, all this reminds me of something that I thought of way back when. And you just mentioned expectations. Have low expectations for is as far as it is associated with the organization, not the people, but with the actual organization. Have no expectations, zero. Never expect anything good to come from that organization, even if maybe sometimes something appears to be good. Have no expectations that they're ever going to be able to solve your problem of being shunned by whomever, because that's not because number one, they're never going to do that. But we just need to divorce ourselves from the organization to where whatever they decide to do next does not matter to us, because we can get our hopes up because we heard that now maybe my mom's going to talk to me, or my daughter's going to talk to me, because I just heard that they're allowed to do that, and we can get all thinking, oh wow, this is maybe it's going to open up that's coming from the organization, not from your daughter or your mother or your father, your grandmother. It's from the organization. It's just a silly change. It means nothing in substance, and it never will. And I'm probably sounding very stern about this, but it's just really, really key for us to understand that the organization is never going to have one iota of any hope of changing anything for us in the positive. It's all got to come from within us in terms of coping, like we've been talking about. And if we are ever to talk to our mom or dad or daughter or son again, it's going to be because they changed, not the organization. It's because they left. That's the only way it's ever going to happen. So just so don't get don't put one iota of. And I know some people are going to be like, well, yeah, but for this reason and that reason, it does interest me, and I do go to the JW.org website once in a while. Okay, that's your business. I mean, I can't say who should do what, but just in general, the principle is don't ever, ever, ever look to the organization for an answer to anything.
Absolutely. All right, people, we are up on our hour. Again, thank you to the panel. I appreciate you taking some time out of your Sunday. Jack, especially you on vacation. I mean, what dedication. Even I wouldn't be on this if I was chilling on the Portugal. So thank you. And thank you to those watching us live and those watching us on the replay or on YouTube. We will see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Go out and do something fun.